Ça va? Ça va bien? Je m'appelle Brigitte. J'habite à Istanbul. Mais je suis hongroise. Anyway, it was just a brief introduction in French. My pronunciation is terrible. Please ignore that. But let's start with the topic about the wars. So basically, two sides are fighting, namely the United States and Russia. In the Cold War, it was the Soviet Union and the United States. They were fighting over different countries like Vietnam and Afghanistan. And many say that actually the United States hasn't won, but at the same time, Russia, or back then the Soviet Union, couldn't win either, because the Soviet Union had collapsed in 1991, and the former Soviet republics became independent. So I'm just saying the United States couldn't win, but neither the former Soviet Union, present-day Russia, it couldn't win either, because Russia had lost the former Soviet republics, right? So, but now Russia wants to gain its former glory back. During the Soviet times, when it had control over all those republics, like including Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. So we are talking about quite a few countries and big territories. So Russia wants to regain that influence. But anyway, returning to the main topic of this video. So Russia and the United States have been fighting over different countries like Vietnam, but give more recent examples of, Syria and Ukraine. And Russia got involved in both countries, in Ukraine and in Syria as well. It has interfered. And Russia would justify its involvement as it counters the United States' influence, right? So basically, the justification goes the same way each time, that Russia has to come around when the United States is involved. The same in the Iran war. Russia provides intelligence to Iran so that Iran would attack the Gulf countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, and so forth. So can there be peace in the Middle East? Ever? Because Russia and the United States are fighting, so, and the two sides, they cannot reconcile, because it's basically many things are fighting all at once: communism versus capitalism. Russia represents communism and the United States represents capitalism. We can say that neither countries are perfect. So, but Why do they have to keep fighting? Well, there is injustice obviously in the world, that's why. So obviously, there is injustice and hypocrisy in the world. So we look around and it's interesting. With Iran, I have absolutely no issue with Iranian people, but the regime is a different topic, I guess. And it's interesting that many Iranians, when they go abroad, when they leave Iran, they kind of change. I mean, especially the women, they don't have to wear the Muslim, abaya and so forth, and they look like they dress freely. I'm not saying anything against those who cover themselves at all. I don't say anything. I'm just saying that they change the people from Iran when they go abroad. They behave differently, which is, okay. In one sense, it's somewhat understandable when the regime tells you something that you have to behave in a certain way. And yeah, a good regime is one that would allow some sort of freedom, right? That a good regime would be if if somebody wanted to cover themselves, they should be allowed, but to force something is another topic, and again, respect. If you respect another person, um you know it's mutual. If you respect another person, and they should respect you in return. So it's not just a one-way street, but sadly, in this world, it's just everything is just messed up. So why do I say this? Because it bothers obviously. I receive comments. So yeah, the returning to Syria, and I feel very sorry for Syrian people because they had endured a lot of pain, and millions of refugees had been from Syria across Europe and other places in the world because of the if because of the war, and and why did Syrian people demand change? That's another interesting topic to investigate. So, if everything had been perfect in Syria back then, why would people go onto the street and demand change? Now you would say it's the Americans, the American sponsored, folks that were, sent money probably, and they went out onto the street and demand change. So, but now I worry that Syria in the future would face bad things. Why do I say that? Because I already see on the internet a lot of negative thing about Syria, as like, oh, it's, not a place that you should go to, especially if you are from Europe or something. And it's, they are jihadists, and females would have a tough time, and this type of sayings, and well, I have never been to Syria, but I'm just saying, the situation is described like this. That's what I keep seeing on the internet these days, and I'm starting to think, who puts those videos up on the internet and with what purpose? Like, they want to say that Syria is bad again. Like, it wasn't enough that for 14 years. Wait. So 2011 until 2024. Wow, almost 14 years. The regime had fallen. The Assad regime had fallen. And now, the on the internet there is something like, oh, but Syria now is, oh, it's like, jihad and stuff, and I mean, I think it's Israeli propaganda, because they want to stir Syria up again. So, like, I'm asking myself, how many times do they want to hurt Syrians? Like, I'm just saying, um, why? I don't want Syria to have another war. I, I just wish peace for Ukraine and Syria and, well, the other places that have, wars. But it's obviously something that, one side doesn't want. They must stir up the place. So, this is very uncool, but yeah, this is what's happening. And my hunch is that, yeah, Syria, unfortunately, may not have peace in the future. That's what my concern is. Um, and I'm sad because why? So it's a very bizarre thing that back then Syria wasn't good either, and now there's also some kind of a different narrative that now it's too jihadist type of country, like it's not really free. And is it? I mean, so back then, and also there was a narrative back then there was, problem too. So when is it ever going to be, you know a country that can have peace? But obviously the Zionists don't want Syria to have peace. And now Ukraine. Ukraine has been suffering, also, for 4 years by now, the full-scale war in Ukraine. It hasn't finished, and today Odessa was targeted, and 3 people have been killed in Odessa in a residential building. So I'm talking about Ukraine now. So in Odessa, 3 people have been killed by a Russian strike. So why? Why do Ukrainians have to suffer? Oh, because of the United States? As the narrative goes that, well, Russia and the United States, or back then the Soviet Union, they have been fighting over different countries, in Cold War, over Vietnam and Afghanistan, and now they have to fight in Ukraine. So Russia is fighting, the United States in Ukraine. What's the point, and who suffers? The civilians in Ukraine suffer. And do I want the Syrian or the Ukrainian civilians to suffer? No, obviously not. I don't want it. But sadly, I can't do anything. So it's very unfair that, we have to. It's like Russia is the rebellion country, basically. It says, oh, there's justification for everything. Um, but it doesn't do any favor for Ukraine, does it? Does Russia do any favor to Ukraine by this war? This is my question for you. How ironic, does it do any favor? No, I don't think so. It just destroys, buildings, cities, and kills civilians or injures civilians. That's the only thing. Nothing good comes out of this destruction. Nothing good. Except some, I mean, many die. I mean, not just some, many die. I mean, maybe on a certain day, maybe 3 people die. On another day, more, way more, or some we don't even hear news about. But I'm just saying what news we can hear about that. For example, the Odessa today, 3 people have been killed. So yeah, that's Russia's great achievement for today. Right? It's very strange that there are so many people who defend Russia's point of view. So many online. They go against, well, yeah, now Trump is the worst person. I'm not saying he's any angel or at all, he's not, but Putin isn't a saint either. Do you get my point? I wonder, but I'm just saying this is pathetic how these countries have been fighting for nothing, just this miserable, power balance. So Ukrainians and Syrians have been paying the price for, these big countries to fight over them. And this is not fair. I'm from a small country, so I'm just saying that this is very unfair. That's why I don't have that much respect for Russia anymore. And quite often not even for the United States, though my childhood was shaped by the United States more than by Russia. But anyway, that's another topic. So when is there ever going to be peace for all these countries? I don't know. I don't think it could be, because humans are so greedy, and those people in power, they really want destruction and kill as many as possible, and they don't care who is the next victim. And I'm sad that Syria may face bad times in the future, because there is a narrative going on the internet that Syria is not a place, it's not really free as you would think. It's how sad, how judgmental. Like, there's a narrative against Syria going on now, slowly. It's more on the news, like, hello, merhaba, nasılsınız? Şu anda Suriye'den bahsediyorum. Yavaş yavaş, yani internette farklı haberler geliyor işte. O kadar özgür bir ülke değil düşündüğünüz gibi. Böyle yavaş yavaş böyle bir anlatım ortaya çıkıyor. Ama bunu fark etmiyor musunuz? Daha önce de Suriye hakkında bu ülke işte çok sıkıntı var bu ülkede. Mesela Başar al-Assad döneminde bu ülkede sıkıntı var. Bu kötüdür şu ve daha sonra böyle müdahale oldu ülkeye. Ve acaba gelecekte de aynı durum olacak? Maalesef bence evet. Anyway, I'm just saying that I'm concerned that Syria could be stirred up in the future again. So not only in the past, Syria had been stirred up by narrative that, it was stirred up in the past, and I think, unfortunately, it can be stirred up in the future, because the Zionists don't want peace in Syria. In fact, if we think of the Zionists want greater Israel, then Syria doesn't even exist on the map, right? that country isn't on the map. As for Putin, Ukraine doesn't exist on the map. Even though Ukraine gained independence in 1991, but for Putin, Ukraine shouldn't have independence. So basically, Russia wants total control over Ukraine, just like I think the Zionists want Syria completely. So that's my concern, that Syria can be stirred up again. I have never been to the country, unfortunately. I really wish I could visit, but what are the chances? Anyway, it's just, I think Israel and the Zionists and Putin's Russia, they behave in a somewhat similar pattern. Both sides kill, like in Russia kills Ukrainians, and well, the Zionists kill Syrians, Lebanese, and stuff. So it's like Russia isn't, yeah, it's just says it's fighting for, like, oh, countering the United States, and for, like, as a moral superiority, but actually it doesn't have that. It's hypocrisy, like, I somewhat sense this type of thing in Russia's, attitude, like what Putin has. It's hypocrisy. But nobody calls Putin, like, killing people, or, killer. Nobody calls him, because no, he is the cool one. He's, countering a Jewish president in Ukraine. So like Putin is the cool one. But yeah, so Zelensky is the bad one just because he's Jewish. No, we shouldn't make such a statement. That's wrong. I feel very sad for Zelensky. And yeah, I keep being attacked for saying this. And I'm very sad, but yeah. I used to have a different opinion of Zelensky because I have heard Russian propaganda, and some Ukrainians got angry with me, obviously, because they were hurt that, I believed somewhat of the Russian propaganda. But I just saw that Zelensky was attacked severely, like he was, mocked. He was everything but, like mocked, like was a comedian, which he was. But I mean, what's, guilt about being a comedian in the past? I don't see anything to be guilty for. So why he couldn't be a president? I don't see, like, why he couldn't. But he was attacked like, oh no, he is addict, drug addict and stuff. No, he cannot lead a country. But well, Putin, what is he doing? He assists Iran to attack Gulf countries and also Israel, which, Israel can have faults, but at the same time, it's not a way to kill every single Jew. It's not the ideology to kill every single Jew is also something very. It's like Hitler's narrative, the Mein Kampf. You have to like kill. And it doesn't lead to anything because the Holocaust didn't lead to anything. Like Nazi Germany had killed 6 million Jews, but some deny that had happened. But I'm just saying, but did it help anyone? Like, no, because if we have that attitude, then the world is going to get way, way worse. Because first of all, some of the Jewish, they stick together, so they are not going to let this happen, that people erase them, which rightfully it's their self-defense in a way. I mean, I'm not Jewish, but it's just but the world is getting destroyed by this ideology in a way, like all people pay some price, economic or other or social. Basically the aggression and the narrative that some, like in Iran, like some protests, so anti, Jewish and everything. It's like kind of like Nazi Germany's, account of, well, you got to. And what do they gain by the bombardment of other cities? Like, yeah, a few, a dozen people they kill, but then there's ecological price for the region, because the water supply in the Middle East gets destroyed. So it's not only the oil resources, and the supply of the oil resources is more difficult now, but the water supply, which is way more important than oil, is in serious danger. But nobody cares about that issue. Is that people are going to have water? Nobody cares, or I mean, they have to uh, like cleanse the seawater, because there's not enough fresh water supply in the region, which is a big problem. But it's not enough. But nobody says anything. Oh, it's Iran should just, stop making this world, more difficult for the region. Because those people in the Gulf countries, they, they, they should have water or something, like. But the narrative is, oh no, they have to be punished. They are hypocrites. They are hypocrites, and we got to punish them. And why? Why do we have to punish them? And now the main news, is talking how innocent Iran is, which is, there are innocent people who are caught up and they cannot speak, you know, and they wish there wasn't any kind of war, but some of them, they cannot speak. And so only those we can say somewhat innocent, but the people who make the decisions, they are they are guilty. Hello, Ukrayna için üzülüyorum ben de. Tabii ki ben de üzülüyorum. Odessa'da 3 kişi hayatını kaybetmişti. Yani bu daha ne kadar devam edecek yani? Ukrayna'da durum böyle. Yani tabii Rusya için o Odessa'da 3 kişi hayatını kaybetmişti, hiç önemli değil. Çünkü Rusya'da nüfus daha fazla. Onlar için bu hiç önemli değil. Ama maalesef böyle bir düşünceyle azınlıklar önemli değil. Yani bu çok berbat bir düşüncedir. Yani bu anlamda yani bir şekilde saygı göstermemiz gerekiyor, yani az olan nüfuslu ülkelere. Yani sadece bir ülke kalabalık olduğu için o haklı anlamına gelmez bence. Yani I don't think that a country which has a bigger population than the other country, it shouldn't make it, right. It shouldn't make it morally right that, oh, that country is, morally right just because it has a bigger population. It shouldn't mean that they are fair or they are right. In my opinion, it's like the viewpoint of smaller countries should also matter in a way, not just the bigger countries. But sadly, nowadays, everything is about bigger population and money. Everything is about that. It doesn't matter the smaller countries what they want. They are oppressed. and Russia is doing this. It would say, yeah, the United States does it too. But I mean, Russia does it too. It's just hypocrisy that it says, no, 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 it's doing everything for the good of humans. Because some make this narrative, no, Ukraine, Russia is doing all this for the benefit of humanity. So yeah, Zelensky is portrayed as, as the evil one, and he's responsible for everything for this war. And Crimea was taken in 2014. Was Zelensky in power then? No. Zelensky came to power in 2019. So Zelensky was not even in power when Crimea was taken. So why is Zelensky blamed for this war in Ukraine? Why is he blamed? It's like, answer me, please. Why? Because Russia keeps saying Zelensky is to be blamed for this. But Crimea was taken in 2014, but Zelensky wasn't even a president then. Because Zelensky came to power in 2019. Yes, 2019. Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking in my mind. Did I say it correctly? Yes. Yes. So, why? Can you answer me? Why is Zelensky blamed for the Ukraine war? Because Crimea was taken in 2014, but Zelensky wasn't even in power, and Zelensky came to power in 2019. So there was a five-year period when Zelensky wasn't even on the political stage, but he is blamed for the Ukraine war. Why? So, but Russia doesn't say anything about Crimea. Oh no, it's okay. They took it in 2014. It's fine. It's fine. It's theirs. It's but ask why. Crimea has or had a Muslim population of Tatars, right? But Russia isn't respecting them. Like, in a way, Russia is, I don't want to say this, but it's against Muslims. Russia is against Muslims. So that's why Chechnya, there were two Chechen wars, and Chechnya couldn't gain independence because Russia had cracked down on those who wanted independence for Chechnya. So Russia isn't just, dealing with Ukraine, or it suppresses independence of Chechens and others because it just wants to. Irony, isn't it? So many believe, Russia is for, the benefit of humans, but it actually doesn't give freedom to Chechens or others. And I have no issue with Chechens. They are Muslims, and, I respect them. So, but why Russia couldn't respect the Chechens and give them independence? Because it didn't want. It wanted the power. Russia wanted the power. So Russia doesn't love Muslims that much. Russia is just using Muslims. But yeah, that's another topic, So you wouldn't trust in Russia that, they don't love the Muslims that much. Russians are hypocritical. They don't love Muslims. And so the Chechens, they had crushed those who wanted independence. So yeah, this topic is another for discussion, but so wish I could visit Chechnya or Syria, but I don't know how. Sorry, the messages I received. So yeah, Ukraine, Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. And glory to Ukraine means a lot. Slava Ukraini. It means a lot, I think, to the Chechens who wanted independence and to other people who have been suppressed by Russia. And now Armenia, a former Soviet country, is being told by Putin that it should not have economic ties with the European Union because it belongs to the Eurasian bloc of economic cooperation, which was founded in 2015. So Russia is giving pressure to Armenia. Pashinyan is facing Putin's remarks that it should not establish ties with the European Union because it is part of the Eurasian economic bloc. I'm talking about Armenia, that Putin tells Pashinyan that he should not be part of the European Union. Why does he tell him? You know, Putin can tell everyone everything all the time. So, yeah, this is another rebellion that Putin has against the world. It wants to control every single country, like, you know, but by force. So why does Russia tell, you know, Pashinyan of Armenia, Prime Minister of Armenia, that it should not establish economic cooperation with the European Union? Because it's part of the Eurasian economic bloc. So that's another way. Yeah, it's economic topic, but yeah, you understand what I mean, that Putin is giving pressure to many countries. So, you know, it's like Armenia has to be obedient to Russia. Armenia has to be obedient to Russia and listen to Putin saying that it cannot establish ties with the European Union. Wow. Why? Why? Isn't Armenia free? So, yeah, it's saddening how. And Armenia and Iran had been good friends in the past. So, you know, interestingly, I mean, Iran is supposedly a majority Muslim country, Islamic Republic, but Armenia is a Christian country, the first Christian country in the world, Armenia. And how come they were friends, Iran and Armenia? There is some hypocrisy, right? So Russia tells, you know, Armenia what to do, and Armenians must listen to Russia, what it says. It's, you know, like obedient puppet, you know. But I think Armenia should be free to do what it wants, because, yeah, I wish I could visit Armenia too. I mean, just like Syria, nice places, I think. But sadly, Russia is using everything to destabilize the countries. Russia is doing a huge disfavor to all these countries. That's why I'm sad that whenever peace is established, you know, Russia comes in to destroy it again. So this is the thing with, I think, Armenia, and also I fear that for Syria too, that Russia would come in again and destroy the peace. Because as you know, there was a in Karabakh, mountainous Karabakh, there was a war, and Azerbaijan had won, and a peace deal was brokered by Trump that Armenia and Azerbaijan would sit down at the table and sign the peace. And they did. But I think Russia doesn't want that peace to last. So that's why Russia tells Armenia, Pashinyan, Nikol Pashinyan, Prime Minister of Armenia, Putin tells him not to establish cooperation with the European Union, and he must be loyal to the Eurasian bloc. So this is typical communist behavior, like you must tell somebody what they can do only. It's like total control over a country that should be free. I mean Armenia too, just like every country in the world should have freedom. But Russia tells Armenians what they can do. Economic cooperation with whom? They tell them. And this is not nice. I saw this video on YouTube and it made me upset that, Russia can destroy the peace for Armenia in the future. Even if this starts out as an economic pressure by Russia on Armenia, but it's not fair. It's not fair. Armenia should be free to decide. If it wants to establish connection with the European Union, it can, it should. But Russia gets involved again. So yeah, it's frustrating, and I am concerned for Syria too, because Syria has peace now, but Russia can destroy it anytime. So Russia is a destabilizing factor across many countries. And I'm not saying that the United States is a saint, no, but there is more freedom than in Russia. And by the way, I have shared on my channel that there is severe flooding in Dagestan, southern part of Russia. And have I seen, like a famous Russian person sharing, oh, I feel sorry for the flood, like those who have been affected by the flooding in southern Russia, in Dagestan? No, I haven't seen a post by, a rich Russian lady. No, she doesn't even care. There's a Muslim population in Dagestan, in southern part of Russia. Who cares? Oh, there is flooding there. So this is the type of attitude of Russians, that they don't care about Muslims. So yeah, and they destabilize many countries across the world. Even in Hungary, they want to interfere in the elections. They don't want freedom for Hungary either. So it's disturbing how Russia is controlling everything. But it says, no, the United States is doing, all this control. But in Russia, you cannot say that, oh, the F word, the swear word at Putin. You cannot say that. But in the West, in any Western country, you can say the F word at Trump. You can say F Trump, a swear word at Trump. And you would not be arrested. You would not be arrested if you said that. You would be cool if you said that F word at Trump. You would be cool. But this is the rebellion of what Russia is leading against the whole world. It wants to take away the freedoms. And I'm concerned that it will do so. It will do so, and we would not be free. And communism will be back, which is terrible, because my country had suffered enough during communism. My mother's generation, my mother had to learn Russian in school, and she couldn't learn English, and she couldn't travel to any Western country back then when there was the Soviet Union. She couldn't travel, just only where the Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc, that's where she could travel. That was the limitation. She couldn't go outside, So yeah, it's not perfect. The Western world has many flaws, but the Russian, the communist system also is very controlling, and it tells countries, what economic cooperations they can have and with whom. It's like directives, giving directly, directive ukaz, I think in the Russian word ukaz, directive. They order what the other country can do. Putin says to Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan, uh, don't establish connection with the European Union, economic connection. Don't establish. Don't establish. Why? Putin wants loyalty, economic cooperation, loyalty. It's like Armenia can only be part of the Eurasian bloc. It cannot establish anything with any other bloc or something. It's just very strange. It's not fair, but when is it ever going to be fair in this world? I don't think we would ever have a time when, until the evil is countered, we cannot have any hope for any peace. Neither for Syria nor Ukraine. And thanks for watching this long topic. I'm sorry, diplomacy açısından şu an biraz fazla uzaktalar. Rusya'nın Suriye üzerinde artık hiçbir etkisi yok. Russia doesn't have any influence over Syria now. There was this comment in Turkish that Russia doesn't have any influence on Syria. Is it true? Because it's trying to come back in a way. I see on the internet, like, the current Syrian, it's not good. It's not really that free that you would think. And so I already see appearing these type of things on the internet. So I'm saying I'm concerned for Syria to have peace, Sınavı vardı. Some of the messages are not for me, I guess. So some exams, sınav, exam, I don't know. Good luck, başarılar dilerim. Neyse, whatever. So Russia is fighting for its influence back on Syria. I do think we can see that slowly appearing more and more. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, if you want to leave a polite comment with respectful way, if you want to explain your point to me, please be respectful. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.